Yeah, right.
Sent it to all the wrong distribution.
Get some swing.
Oh,
We
right.
have a program in there.
Is this or is this not going today?
I've got a grain.
I need my brother.
So for you, you get to catch up with some people, I guess.
So I've got a 5-year-old and a 12-year-old at home, so for me it's like 45 minutes to read.
But with everything that I had knocked off because I thought I had to. Okay.
Well, we've gone through a good term. So Kim has been on for 2 years?
I think a little bit, I think 2
Maybe
years.
two and a half?
You want to slide over? Or is that your designated seat? Or?
Yeah, who are you replacing?
Walt?
Oh, already? When did Walt leave?
Last month was his last meeting.
Oh, wow.
But he had made his intentions known earlier than that.
He did?
Yeah.
I guess not to me.
No, not to me either.
I tried when I was in the army, so I was
What is he doing anyway?
I don't know. I think that's a little bit of a contentious item.
If you're here,
Hodge
sign
has
in.
been,
If you're here, sign in. And if you're not?
so Don's been on, this is his second meeting. Bill, you've been on about a year and a half, the board?
a year to year and a half, somewhere in
Year
there.
and a half, Bill's been on.
Not a long time.
And then Brenda.
You just want a name, you don't need a sign or anything, just.
Oh, so Jim does have a replacement.
Yeah, Brenda, she's not here, she's traveling.
Okay.
How long have you been on, Kim?
I don't think 3 years, I think just 2 years.
Two.
You weren't terribly.
Huh?
You had not been on a long time, I don't think, when I got on. I thought that Todd referred to you as a relatively new person too.
I was July, I think, 2 years ago.
Oh, so you're right at 2 years.
Yeah, and I'm really.
I think you're about a year and a half.
Yeah.
Because
So the dynamics are changing, to answer your question.
who did Bill replace? He replaced Chris?
That's how they
No.
start there.
Who was the chair?
Oh, Samit Shah?
No, Bill replaced Gary.
Yeah.
Not so
Willis,
personal.
Dr. Willis. Was the chair.
Oh,
Yeah,
he resigned the night I got on.
there you go. So it was pretty quick
Probably
thereafter.
was
You're right.
probably pretty soon after that, yeah.
Done this before.
Well, maybe that's, they can get paid, I don't know.
No, I don't want to get paid. Yeah, paid.
I brought that up. That went down well in my group. I brought that up.
I saw that message too.
All right.
All right,
I
National
never
Rifle
did fill.
Association.
Yeah, I never did fill out the paperwork.
I never
so
did either, so
I
they
don't
can't
know
pay
if-
me.
Yeah, exactly.
Back to you. Did you finally figure out the password?
Yeah, I figured it out last time, Deerfield, capital D.
Oh, with a D.
But my problem was I was trying to get into Milton Guest, and it's Milton Pub.
Right.
Just in the.
I have never been successful.
So it worked okay, the old place,
I'd be interested in it.
which network I was
Deerfield
on.
with a capital D.
Bill's got a fair bit.
He's not
Didn't
interested.
remember what it was, but Hodge figured out it was a capital D.
He's done a lot of stuff
Right,
in the
Hodge
past.
Deerfield with a capital D.
Yeah, it
Leadership.
worked.
They work?
Just wants to serve, is what he said to me when we were walking in, but, you know.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I don't mind doing it. The DRB meetings are run the exact same way as the BZA, so.
Right, yeah.
And Todd's never absent, so that makes it easy.
Yes.
Listen, I'm not a power.
He might start being absent.
Yeah. Next July will be. Well, Dr. Willis Chiropractic, he was our chair for a long time.
Right.
He never missed a meeting.
Right.
And so I have to live up to that standard because he will still call me. He lives over for sight. He'll still call me and needle me about stuff. I'm like, you don't even live in the county anymore.
Right.
Get out of my face. I know. He called me to tell me about How the hell do you know? I don't even know. I don't know this. We'll talk offline.
First one I pulled out was an S block.
All right, Angela, you ready?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to call the June 20th, 2017 Board of Zoning Appeals meeting to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll start tonight by introducing our board members, starting to my left.
Oh, Don Kurtz?
Hodge Patel.
Bill O'Connor.
Todd Chernick.
Ed Parsons?
Kim Keller.
We've got a meeting agenda here that I propose an amendment to, and that amendment would be to move V17-010 to the top of our agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to move this item. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? May meeting minutes, make a motion to approve our May meeting minutes as published.
Before you go, you need to.
Oh, we have to adopt the
Adopt it
meeting.
as amended.
Make a motion to adopt the amended agenda for tonight's meeting.
Second.
A motion and a second to adopt the with the amendments. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passed unanimous. I make a motion to approve the May meeting minutes as published.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the May meeting minutes. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passed unanimous as well.
Well, I'm abstaining.
We have one abstention. Kim Keller wasn't present for May.
Oh, I guess I understand too.
The Board of Zoning Appeals is a...
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have to, yeah, I was just going to say, I just said, Todd, I have to abstain as well, because I wasn't here.
So we have 4 in favor, 2 abstentions. The Board of Zoning Appeals is a quasi-judicial board comprised of resident volunteers of the City of Milton. The board is charged with hearing requests for variances from the standards of the zoning ordinance and appeals of administrative determination. With regards to decisions on primary variances, the board's basis for decision is provided by these 4 considerations. A, relief if granted would not offend the spirit or intent of the ordinance. And B, there are such extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property that the literal or strict application of the ordinance would create an unnecessary hardship due to size, shape, or topography, or other extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions not caused by the variance applicant. And relief, if granted, would not cause a substantial detriment to the public good in surrounding properties, and that the public safety, health, and welfare are secured, and that substantial justice is done. We'll start tonight with case V17-010. Would staff please present?
Mr. Chair, staff would like to request a deferral on this case. We found out this morning, basically, that the Alpharetta residents adjacent to this block were not notified by mail. We used the City of Milton GIS system when we were making the mailing list, and it didn't capture the Alpharetta city residents, so we need to go back and correct that deficiency, and we'd like to hear the case at the July 20th meeting, or 18th, July 18th.
Okay. I make a motion to defer V17-010 to our July meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion to defer to July is passed unanimous.
Thank you.
So if anyone that's here to speak on behalf of the Broadwell case, we will not be hearing that tonight. Next item on our agenda is V17, and I apologize if you are here for that. As you understood from staff, that was a late understanding about our public notice responsibilities. V17-008, 115 Hullen Way. Would staff please present?
Yes, sir. V17-008. The site is a 1.11 acre lot in the Thompson Springs subdivision. Located in the rural Milton Overlay District, it is approximately 60 feet of frontage on Hewlin Way and is zoned AG1. The property is currently developed with a 2-story house with basement. Mr. Dover would like to build a 567 square foot pool and pool deck that would encroach approximately 10 feet into the 75-foot impervious setback. Section 20.426.2 states that all impervious cover shall be prohibited within the setback. Because the proposed pool and pool deck will encroach into this setback, a variance will be required. On June 6, 2017, the DRB stated that they had no comments as long as staff requirements are met. On June 8th, the staff held a focus meeting and site plan review. The city architect, the arborist, DOT stormwater had no comments. The standards for consideration were read earlier, and the applicant responds as follows. The 75-foot stream buffer was not included on the plat. Therefore, the homeowners were unaware of it when the lot was purchased and the house was built. The placement of the septic tank and existing retaining walls limits suitable locations for the proposed pool. A mitigation plan that provides a French drain system for the entire pool deck is identified on the site plan to compensate for the encroachment. The staff response. The intent of the ordinance is to protect the stream from stormwater runoff by prohibiting impervious surfaces within 75 feet of the stream. However, the 75-foot stream buffer was not in place at the time the property was developed. Because the required stream buffer was only 25 feet at the time the lot lines were created, the future lot conditions appeared to allow space for a pool. Therefore, the location of the existing home, septic tank, and retaining walls limit feasible areas for the proposed pool. The changes to the buffer were not caused by the variance applicant. Although the proposed design will encroach 10 feet into the 75-foot stream buffer, the pool deck will include a French drain system intended to compensate for the buffer encroachment. This will benefit the public good by improving the health of the stream. Approving the variance request will allow substantial justice to be done since the stream buffers were not in place when the applicants purchased the home. They were not aware of the limitations that the future buffer requirement would present. Should the board choose to approve this application, staff recommends the following conditions, and that is approval for the site plan dated January 23rd, 2017. Staff recommends approvals with the one condition of this request, and this concludes the staff presentation.
Are there any questions for staff?
The applicant here today? Okay.
Sir, you're free to come up and present your case.
Thank you. I think that it was covered very well in what was read. The property is somewhat set apart and blocked by woods from any neighbors. We had some letters from several of our neighbors indicating they have no objection to the pool being built as we propose. And as she mentioned, the variance is something we were not aware of at the time. We're very comfortable and anxious to complete the project. We don't think personally that it has any problems or difficulties with the way the land sits or the way the stream sits.
In terms of letters of support from your neighbors, does staff have those?
Yes, they were brought to the June 6th meeting.
Okay. For our benefit, is that neighbors on both sides of you?
Yes.
Is there a neighbor behind you?
There are neighbors behind us technically, but they are kind of well beyond the stream and,
Separated by the stream.
And not visible So we didn't get letters from them.
Okay. When was your home built?
1996.
Anybody like a larger site plan? I'm sorry.
I'll take one if you have one.
I did have a question on the site plan. It notes what I assume to be the existing septic field. Is that in red?
I believe so. Just look at it in front of you for a moment, please. Yes.
That was going to be my next question. So the red is where your current primary system is. Do you happen to know the location of your secondary or emergency septic field?
I do not.
It's actually beyond it. I talked to the landowner, and it is beyond it. Is where it is.
Okay.
The retaining wall that is currently there would remain, and that would step down to the pool?
Yes, it would be remain on both sides of the pool, and then it would be kind of extended out a bit to run in parallel to where the outline, where that outer boundary of the pool is into the variance.
Okay. Are there any other questions for the applicant? Yes, Hodge.
So is the wall terminating at the 10-foot buffer for the easement?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, if there's no further questions, I'll open the floor for public comment. Is there any public that's interested in speaking in favor or in opposition to this application? Hearing and seeing no interest in public comment, sir, you have an opportunity to make any closing remarks if you care before we would close the public hearing.
It's heavily wooded once you get beyond the where the variance buffer is. There's a fence there, then there's some woods, then there's a stream, and then there's more woods. That's the only thing I would clarify that you can't see readily from looking at the plot plan.
Okay. Are there any questions for the applicant or for staff? We first have to take a motion. I'll make note that the public hearing is closed, and I'll open the floor for a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion that we approve this application consistent with the staff recommendations, that it be consistent with the site plan dated January 23rd, 2017. I think it's consistent with the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance. It's relatively minor, and the proposed handling of the stormwater runoff, I think, actually causes a positive impact on the environment there.
Before I second it, I just want to make a comment that I did go out and visit the landowner and saw what they were trying to do, and really the extension of that wall that you see in the photos is really not that significant. They're actually going to drop down closer to the house, so the pool is going to drop that grade down a little bit, and the wall is going to come out an additional 5 or 10 feet. But there's still lots of room between a fence, and then beyond the fence goes to a creek that's about this wide. So I think it is a reasonable use of the property. And then the fact that they've got both adjacent neighbors okay with it, any reason why I wouldn't support it. So with that being said, I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? With that, I'll take a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimous. You can get with Angela tomorrow to go through the next steps in terms of permits. Thanks for being prepared. Moving on in the agenda to case V17-009, 14264 Phillips Circle. Would staff please present?
Yes, sir. B17009. The site is a 13-acre lot located in the Sycamore Farm subdivision. Oh, hold on one second. Let me see if I have. Go ahead and give these to you. Some pictures. Okay. The site is a 13-acre lot located in the Sycamore Farm subdivision. It's located in the rural Milton overlay. It has approximately 105 feet of frontage on Phillips Circle and is zoned AG1. The property is currently developed with a 1.5-story brick house. Mr. Varnum would like to replace an existing railroad tie wall with an 8-foot tall modular stone wall. Section 64-2403.3F states that no single retaining wall shall exceed 6 feet in height at any point. Because the proposed wall will be 8 feet in height, a variance will be required. On June 6, 2017, the DRB stated that they had no concerns because the applicant was replacing an existing wall with better materials. Staff had held a focus meeting on June 8, 2017. Site plan review, the city architect, arborist, and the DOT stormwater had no comments. Standards for consideration were read earlier, and I'm going to refer to the letter of appeal for the applicant's response. Allow us to upgrade, the variance should be if granted, would allow us to upgrade the railroad tie wall in its current non-tiered state with a bell guard wall system. The upgrade will comply with the spirit of the ordinance. The variance would allow us to replace the wall in its current state without tearing, which would create environmental and safety problems. Number one, we would have to remove 1 or 2 major oak trees according to HEMA concrete, and 2, tearing would create a hazard for horses in their pasture. C, it will not cause detriment to the surrounding property. The wall is only visible from the pasture. And D, the approval would provide a much safer retaining wall and assure that the substantial justice is done by preserving the environment and avoiding excessive costs. Staff response. The intent of the ordinance is to lessen the impact of large retaining walls on adjacent properties by limiting the maximum height to 6 feet. Although the proposed wall is 8 feet tall, the applicant is rebuilding an existing wall with new materials that will increase the aesthetic appeal. It would not be possible to tier the wall to reduce height because it would conflict with adjacent specimen trees and disturb the existing horse pasture. The proposed wall is located 275 feet from the closest property line and would not cause substantial detriment to the public good or surrounding properties. The existing retaining wall is failing, and replacing with more substantial materials will make the structure safer, thereby securing the safety, health, and welfare of the public and the Varnum family. Should the board choose to approve the application, staff recommends the following conditions. We have no conditions at this time, and staff recommends approval of this request.
Are there any questions for staff?
How high is the existing wall?
8 feet.
Thank you.
Okay, if the applicant would like to come forward.
My name is Bruce Varnum, and I'm here with my wife, Ellen. We've lived there about 20 years, and the house has been there with the retaining wall, the original retaining wall, about 30 years. And it was time to replace it and upgrade it. And I hate killing trees, especially 100-foot oak trees. And it would require taking a couple of those down. And we have letters from all our neighbors on the surrounding properties. They can't even see the wall from where it is. In fact, we can't either unless we go around into the pasture. The horses are the only ones that see the wall. But it'll make things safer. It'll bring us into closer compliance with the zoning code by using the Belgrade anchor wall. And trying to think if there's anything else other than, we have the safety of the horses. You put a horse in a pasture with a tearing, they're going to get in trouble. So I think replacing an existing wall at the same height and the same dimensions with a better wall is what we would like approval to do.
I had one question.
Yes.
Are you intending on putting a fence at the top of the wall as it exists today?
Oh, yes.
Same floorboard?
Yeah. That matches the floorboard around the entire property. I assume you have a package that has all the pictures in it, and it would be the same thing.
Yep, okay. Does staff have your letters of support on file?
Yes. Yeah.
Very good. Any questions for the applicant? I'm going to open the floor for public comment, but you can stay right there. Is there anyone here to speak in favor or in opposition? Besides your wife?
That lady's not going to give you any trouble.
Wonderful.
I'm not hearing or seeing any public comment tonight, so therefore you have an opportunity to make a closing comment if you care.
No, we'd just like your approval to move forward and enhance the wall.
Before I have the applicant return to their seat, is there any final questions for the applicant or for staff? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'll make note that the public hearing is closed, and I'll open the floor for a motion and a second.
I'll move approval.
I'll second that.
It's like simple. It's replacing an existing wall. It will make it safer. It will look better. It's a minor thing to ask for in the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance. So I support it.
I had one question of clarification for staff on this. Would something like this not fall within your administrative purview?
No.
It would not? Okay. Is there any other comment, discussion rather, on this motion for passage?
Oh, after the second, I'd like to.
It's second. I seconded it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I missed that part. Yeah, I guess one of the things I had for staff was I went out and met with the landowner today because I wanted to just see it. I hadn't seen this packet beforehand, so I just wanted to take a quick look. And, one of the things he shared with me was the fact that he had to incur some pretty significant expense, this variance. I mean, he had to pay several $1,000s for a survey of his property to deal with this fence. Is that reasonable to require a survey for something like this?
We need a site plan drawn to scale. So if you want to try drawing it yourself, you can do that. But the wall company was probably going to need a survey. And we encourage homeowners to get surveys anyway because it's for their own benefit. But
If they just had a plat of their property, that's not sufficient?
well, a plat can be a survey. It's kind of, that word is interchangeable. We need a site plan drawn to scale, showing improvements, setbacks, right-of-way, all of that.
So the answer is he is required to get a survey?
Not necessarily.
He's required to have a site plan,
I'm sorry? He is required to get a site plan, sure.
drawn to scale.
So if an applicant can do that himself off of a tax plat, and show the location of a house and streams and topo and all of that. You know, not too many people can do that themselves.
I can understand his question because they weren't changing anything. It's more like a maintenance issue. You know, if you're doing something different on your property, but they're replacing something that's already there.
Tell you what, just for the sake of letting the applicant potentially go, maybe we move this into discussion in new business or something to that effect? It doesn't appear to be directed specifically to this application.
Do a decision, rendering a decision, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion outside of this? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passed unanimous. Good luck with your project. Moving on to the next item on our agenda would be consideration of appeals and secondary variances.
I have none.
I have none. Old business.
I guess we can put the training under old business. My apologies for the mix-up for tonight. We will attempt to reschedule it to the August meeting.
Yeah, unfortunately, members, I have a scheduled, I call it vacation. It's, I'm away. I'll probably be getting less sleep and harder during that week, but I will be happy to have done it, but I will be out for the July meeting. I can arrange to have someone here, but...
I may be out in July as well, so.
Okay.
So we're looking at August 17th is the proposed next meeting for
I believe
training
that's the date.
at 6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Let's go ahead and note that, and I'll send out a separate email seeking everyone's ability to attend.
And let me add,
In advance?
if you have, yeah, that'd be great. And if you have any particular issues that you're interested in hearing addressed individually, feel free to send me an email. I have a long version, I have a short version, and if there's anything in particular, hey, it may not be in either one of them. If you have a specific question, I'd be happy. The further in advance I get, the more prepared I can be for any of your questions.
It's an open invitation to everyone to email Paul if you have any specific topics of concern or questions to be addressed. Okay, so I'll take the action item. If you'll publish this in our meeting minutes as far as the date, and then as we get closer, I'll ensure that we have sufficient attendance so that we don't end up with a reschedule like tonight.
6 p.m.?
6 p.m.
Unless I get a lot of questions, and see how long we can. We'll fit it in.
And well, we'll need to know that prior to the next meeting so that you can take care of advertising requirements.
Yeah,
and so-
yeah.
Okay. All right, so any other old business? New business? We have 2 items noted. Is there any interest in continuing the discussion we just had regarding the required documentation?
Yeah, I'd say I just feel a little bit bad for the guy that he had to incur that kind of expense to do that kind of a maintenance project to his place. It just doesn't seem... I wish there would have been a better way that he could have done it for a couple $100 rather than, I think he said he spent $2,400 or $2,800 on that.
I agree.
Yeah, given the size of his property, he probably had to pay a pretty decent penny.
Well, they said the original bid that he had was $4,400.
For a survey?
For a survey.
It's 13 acres and a stream.
It's a big, beautiful piece of land, but
Yeah.
regardless, the fact that it's just, there was...
I will tell you, though, having sat on this board now for almost, well, I guess right at 10 years, there's been situations that have arisen that have benefited both the applicant and us in terms of information that was presented because of the due diligence, whether it's a lot line issue or a buffer issue, buffer or otherwise. So in this specific example, I can see where it's looked extreme, but there's been other situations where it's benefited.
So maybe it's one of those, I hate to be fuzzy about anything, but maybe that's up to Angela's discretion to say, you probably should, or because what happens is if they don't have a site plan when they come here before us, and we don't have enough information to make a decision, then it may be we just punt to the next month if we have to, and say, no, we really need a site plan for this. So, and they can decide if they want to take that risk, because, I mean, I trust your judgment, you know.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't bring it to you without some sort of site plan, you know.
Let me add one comment to, a lot of times, I mean, it's very common to have a condition to have the construction, the development, whatever may be before you, be tied to the particular site plan that's presented. A lot of that is for enforcement purposes, so that if someone goes out there, we can actually, or
We have something
the
verified
officer can
against.
go out there and go, okay, this is 30 feet from the property line. If we don't have the details on what's presented, I mean, you can say, well, it looks like it's in the right place, and they're not going to be able to say, I mean, if it's 3 feet off, 5 feet off, 10 feet off, you know,
We
how
reference
close
site plans
is
a
it?
lot.
Yeah, no,
But-
and I get that.
I mean, and
I
talk to
agree.
the council members.
95% of the time, site plans really are helpful. I mean, this is probably the 5% that I think it was a waste of his money.
There are certainly ways to write a requirement such that there are exceptions. There are different times when it applies or doesn't apply. It gets tricky, you know, to capture everything you want to capture, but not more than you want to.
So what
You
you're
know,
saying is, as it's written now, as the application requirements are written now, Angela doesn't have flexibility.
No, I do, and you've seen, I've used it. You know, there are some, we've had some hand-drawn.
Yeah, no, we have. She's
You know.
right.
But, I mean, I don't think I told them, oh, yeah, you have to have a survey. I just, you know.
And to your point, Mr. Parsons, there have been times when I think we have come back saying we need a detailed drawing
Yeah, and
showing.
same thing with DRB. I mean, we punted
Yeah.
things before back to them saying, you know, we need the real material you're going to put on the wall. You
Yeah,
know, we don't
yeah.
need a rendition of what you're going to do. So, yeah, I get that part. I just, that's the kind of experience that leaves a really bad taste in that guy's mouth, you know, thinking,
Yep.
I had to spend that kind of money just to,
At least-
a wall.
But the
At least
takeaway
you
on
got
that is also that in certain situations, you're going to be in more of a gray area. And if we
Absolutely.
don't have the plans, then we're asking to punt,
Right,
and they may have timing issues and other things that were
Right.
resulting in delays.
right,
Hate to see them spend that kind of money on it.
Right.
But at the same time, it makes our process more streamlined, more straightforward.
I think, Angela, you understand the intention, and I think you've
I mean,
generally done a good job with that as well, though. Tonight is probably an anomaly.
right, okay.
Wouldn't you say, Kim? 2 years?
Well, I've never had anyone disclose what they've, I know people have spent a lot of money coming in front of this board, and sometimes I wonder why. Because to me, it's like, it's pretty obvious we're going to probably approve this. And that bothers me, that, you know, attorneys hired, you know, and I don't know, I just, you know, just wondering why they feel they need to do that. Like, do they think we're, you know, not reasonable people, you know?
Yeah.
So, anyway.
All right, anything further on that topic? Brenda's not here. We have a decision to make. I sent a message out gathering anyone's intentions. As far as election of officers, we are supposed to do it in January. So is everyone comfortable moving forward with doing that without Brenda?
Yeah.
I think so. Okay.
I'd like to nominate Todd Chernick as chairman of the board. He's been on here almost 10 years. He's got experience. He's got passion for it, never misses a meeting, does a great job. And I don't think we could have anybody better at this point.
I didn't pay him to say that.
Oh, you didn't get my
Good
notes. I'll see you
For the
outside.
record. Is there any, we haven't done this in a while, Paul. Do we open it up for other nominations?
I think a straight up or down to start with. If someone were to think about another one, they might make reference to that, which might influence whether or not you voted in favor of this particular nomination. So vote for this motion And if you think of someone else, then you can vote against this motion.
Got it. Everyone understand that? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that one's done. Vice Chair stands in the situation where the chair may not be available and carries in the same responsibilities of facilitating these meetings. Open the floor for a motion. Mr. Parsons would be my recommendation for Vice Chair, given his experience with the DRB. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. With Hodge, is there any discussion? Given this is your first meeting, do you want to share anything further about yourself? I'm familiar with you.
Okay. I've kind of been involved in the middle scene for several years. I moved here in 2008, lived on Red Road. I had a probably a good 2-year run on the DRB, and I humbly say it may not have been my best cup of tea, just because I have no creativity in terms of house design and colors and windows and things. It's just,
He's an IT guy.
yeah, I'm an IT guy. I can contribute to it, but honestly, I'm just far more interested in zoning things. I think that's more of the kind of things I'm passionate about. So I know Todd is very rarely going to miss a meeting, but if he does, I feel like, with his little cheat sheet notes here, I could probably walk my way through it if necessary.
That was one of my questions to Ed when he expressed interest, and this was, I haven't observed a DRB, but I'm understanding that it runs very similar to how this meeting runs, which I think is important just in terms of visibility to the public.
Yeah, getting the flow.
All right. So with that, is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? You're it.
Okay.
All right.
Congratulations.
We're at
Until January and we do it all over again. It might be a short tenure. Okay. Anything further in new business?
Nothing from me.
I'll move we adjourn.
I second that. We adjourned.
You might want to vote on it.
What's that?
You might want to vote on
We
it.
have to vote on that?
Yeah.
Ah, man. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
You would vote no on that, right?
Passed unanimous.